Hey guys, did you know that I have a Patreon where you can support me and plus get awesome rewards? Or if you're thinking to yourself, but Julian, I want even more bang for my buck while still supporting you, you can pop over to my Redbubble and check out my awesome store with new designs appearing regularly. But for now, enjoy the video you're about to watch. Hello, 'tis I, Julian Greystoke. Today I'm wearing my Fight Like a Girl shirt because it's cozy and I like it. And yes, I did design it, thank you for asking. You can check out my Redbubble to see more of my designs. Links in the doobly-doo. We are going to be talking about a book that I recently read called Friend Request, which that title alone is gonna make you nervous and think, what is this? Is this, because I think there was a movie, like a found footage type movie that was out recently with this title. I don't know why I picked this book up. I think I saw it on a list or something of like thrillers. I don't even remember, but I was like, I was able to look past the title and check out what this book was. This is the story of a woman who is, I believe, in her 30s, about my age, and she's going back for her high school reunion, and it's bringing up all of these memories of who she was in school, all of these people that she knew in school. She was really a follower. She was sort of popular, but only because she really just mastered those follower techniques of tagging along with the popular girls. Right as all of this is going down and all of these memories are being brought up, suddenly she gets a friend request from a friend of hers who is dead. And that honestly sounds a lot less interesting than it turns out to be. That premise seems like, you know, okay, we've seen that a million times recently in like horror movies and stuff. Everyone's obsessed with making Facebook scary now. But honestly, this book makes it work. And if the title and the premise turn you off, I suggest giving it a second chance because I actually quite enjoyed myself. Now, I think this qualifies as a thriller or a suspense book. I don't know, and I'm really bad at identifying what is supposed to be a thriller. I will say that if it is one of those, it did a million times better at making me care about the main character than any of the other thrillers or suspense books that I have read so far. I want a thriller, but it has to make me care about the main character, because if I don't like them as a person, I'm not going to be worried about them being in danger, which is kind of the whole point of a thriller, I think. And I've noticed that a lot of thrillers neglect making their main characters very relatable, and I did relate to this character. I thought she was well done, she felt very human, and I enjoyed following her, so good job, book. The pacing of this book I thought was pretty decent. It did a good job of keeping the plot moving while still taking the time to let me get to know this character and the other characters in the story. The MC does have a child. He is this little boy from the marriage that she had to a high school sweetheart, but they have since broken up and she has their son most of the time, and he, unfortunately, is more of a plot device. He is too precious, too pure, does not act like a realistic child. He never acts out. He's always very sweet and precious and darling, and I just kind of wanted to punch his little face in a lot of the time, which I think makes me a terrible person, but there's a reason I don't have children. I was just tired of how perfect and adorable he was. I really liked that this book had us going through the point of view of a woman who was not exactly a bully, but was also not exactly one of the outsiders either. The dynamic that she had in high school is a really fascinating one that doesn't get brought up very much, in that she was kind of in the crowd with the popular girls, but as I said, only because she had really mastered these following techniques, these abilities to please the popular girls, to kind of be their little toady and do whatever they asked. As a result, she was forced to do some bullying things herself that she did not want to do. You definitely feel that survival mechanism of her knowing that she has to do that in order to keep from being bullied herself, and it makes for a much more realistic character than I've read in a lot of these books, as I said, and it makes for a different character to read versus the constantly always reading from the point of view of a character who was just exclusively bullied, the outsider, the outcast character, and to a type of person in a high school situation that 100% exists, but you don't really hear about very often. And sort of the stress of being in that situation and the trauma of being in that situation and being forced to not be friends with people that you genuinely want to be friends with because you want to survive in this popular crowd and not be bullied yourself. Also, because we are coming at it from the point of view of an adult woman who is looking back, it's really interesting to see what she thinks of herself now versus who she was then. We are getting flashbacks. It does kind of go back and forth between her in the present and her high school years. The book did a good job of making it clear when we were in a flashback and when we were in the present day. I also felt like the use of the internet and the use of Facebook were also really well done. I think it did help that the main character is about my age. She might be a bit younger than me, but she's about my age. And the way she uses Facebook is different from the way that like younger people use Facebook. It was a very realistic portrayal of not only Facebook, but how adults my age are using Facebook. And that is something that can fall flat in books like this, because oftentimes the person who is writing it doesn't seem to have a good handle on the internet or Facebook or how any of that works at all. And this author definitely did. And the climax of this book was very intense, very exciting. There were some twists that I did not see coming. There is not nearly as much required suspension of disbelief as I have had in other thrillers that I have read, so I loved that. As some of you may know, because I talked about it in a previous review, I sometimes have trouble with books like this that are set in our world. I have trouble suspending my disbelief, you know, the whole, why did no one call the police, why didn't anyone hear the gunshots, that sort of thing. This book did not require that suspension of disbelief for me, and I enjoyed that a great deal. I appreciated that. There was one twist in this book that I did not predict, but it was so obvious that I just felt like such an idiot for not predicting it. I'm sure everyone else in the world will have gotten this twist, but I was like, oh, no, that makes complete sense, and why didn't I see that? There is another twist that I think is a lot harder to get, and that one actually frustrated me because evidence for that twist is withheld from you, so it's more of a twist. So it would be much harder for you to solve that one on your own. Not impossible, but much harder, because you're not given certain facts that our main character does know. You're not given them until much later when it's time for the twist. And now I am going to talk a little bit of a spoiler from the end of the book, so I will put River Song in her usual place up there, and when River Song goes away, the spoiler will be over, okay? And let's go. This is a big spoiler for the ending. Make sure you're up for that. At the end of this book, we find out who the villain is and what he did to this character who was killed, and he raped and killed her. And it's really a very interesting and I think well done look at rape culture and how a rapist often views the act, how now as an adult he is very incensed and angry that a little mistake from his youth would ruin his life now. You know, now he has a new marriage, he's got kids, and he feels that that mistake from his teenage years should not result in him being punished now as an adult. And I just think that is a really interesting look into rape culture, how people who do sexually assault people, usually men who sexually assault women, look at it as like a little oopsie that they did when they were, oh, I was just a dumb teenager, I raped a girl, but that shouldn't come back to bite me now, I moved on, I'm a better person. You've already ruined someone else's life, you've already taken that away from them, but they still see it as just this little, you know, oopsie daisy, you know, mistake I made when I was a dumb teen, haha, forgive me. It's like, no, you ruined someone's life. And in this case, also resulted in her death. So, yeah, it was a very interesting take, and I thought it was quite well done. Okay, great big giant spoiler over, and we are back to wrap up our thoughts. Overall, as you could probably tell, I really liked Friend Request, and I do recommend it. I feel like it may have shot itself in the foot with that title and that cover blurb that make it sound so ordinary when it really is better than the sum of its parts. So I recommend that you check out Friend Request if you are looking for a thriller-like book with deeper and more engaging characters. Or have you read it? Comment below and let me know. There are a lot of other reviews here on this channel for you to check out, so feel free to wander around and look at all my other content at your leisure. All the links to my social media are in the doobly-doo, and I post new videos Mondays and Fridays. And if you want to see special exclusive content that is not available to the public at all, you can become my patron over on Patreon, where there's all kinds of delightful little tidbits that I share only with patrons. So go check that out if you're interested at any donation level, and all donations go towards getting getting me better equipment. And I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye! Hey everybody, it is shout out time again. Time to shout out to my patrons, Amanda, Ashley, Celia, Kim, Lisa, Ramona, Sabby Panda, and Sarah. And if you want to be great like these amazing people, then become my patron over on Patreon.